Have you ever wondered if your music is good enough for placements in TV shows, films, and commercials? Well, there's actually a pretty simple way to determine whether or not it is, and we're going to talk about that today. Now, there are three different steps that lead to a final licensable song that you can get on TV shows, films, and commercials. All right. It starts with songwriting, then we have the actual music production process, and then we end with mixing. Those are the three steps. Today, I want to talk about songwriting. And I want to start by talking about the two types of songs that we deal with when it comes to generating sync placements. The first is obviously going to be a vocal song. We all know what those are. The second is an instrumental track. Now, regardless of really the instrumentation around either the vocal song or the production around the instrumental track, there's really only two types of songs. But there are four types of placements. And the first one that I want to talk about here is the featured vocal. Now, this is when you have a song that's playing and that's all that's happening. It's being featured. Maybe the characters are on a drive down a road and they're just listening to the radio and they're quiet and there's a very specific moment that's happening between them, and all you're listening to is the featured song, and the featured song in this particular case has a vocal line that's considered a featured vocal. Now, if that same song was just an instrumental track, then it would be considered a featured instrumental placement. All right. But let's say you have two characters who are talking. They're in the car, they're driving, and in the background there's, the radio's playing it, but it's in the background. You don't really focus on it. You're listening to what they're actually saying to each other. But the song that's playing in the background is a vocal song, then that's considered a background vocal placement. And then, of course, as I'm sure you can figure out, a background instrumental is the exact same thing, just obviously without a vocal melody. All right. Now, assuming that all things are equal, meaning the duration of the placement and whatnot, vocal placements will generate more in back-end royalties. All right. However, and this is a very important thing to keep in mind, there are many, many, many more opportunities for instrumental placements. One of the very first things I tell anyone who comes to me asking about sync licensing and how they can get into it is I tell them to take a week, stop watching TV, and start listening to TV. Start paying attention to the music that you hear on TV, and you're going to find that the vast majority of music that you hear underscoring your favorite TV shows and commercials and films and video games and whatnot, they're going to be instrumental placements. Even if it's a vocal song originally, when you take the vocal off, it becomes an instrumental. Now, one of the questions that I get so often is, someone sends me a track they want me to listen to, and they ask, is my song good enough for a sync placement, right? Is my music ideal for sync placements? And there are two things about that question. The first thing is that tells me that the person asking it has not spent enough time doing what I suggested, which is to stop watching TV and start listening to TV. When you start listening to TV, you will become so aware of the wide variety, not only stylistically, but also production-wise. You'll become so aware of this wide variety of music that gets placed that this question really even shouldn't be a question. All right. But all that being said, I have a very simple answer for this. And that answer is to test it. Just test it. Here's the one thing about building your music catalog. You need to know your music and the size and the quality and the variety of your music catalog. You need to know that better than anyone. Okay? So if your goal is to write 4-picture and generate sync placements, then start writing 2-picture. It's really that simple. You can just simply get an extra TV in your studio. Those don't cost much at all. You don't even need a cable to connect it to the wall anymore. All you need is a little Amazon Fire Stick or a Roku or anything like that, and it's wireless. You can call up anything you want. But if that's out of reach for you at the moment, that's okay, because you can go onto YouTube and you can download a plethora of video content. In fact, there are free YouTube downloaders that you can use that will allow you to just go into YouTube and pull down some various videos, TV shows, could be movie trailers. In fact, that's one thing that I do so often. I always score, or at least start, a movie trailer that I write to a previously existing movie trailer. I use that as a form of inspiration. I'll find a trailer that I like. I'll use one of these downloaders. I'll take that video file, I'll throw it into Pro Tools, and then I start watching it and I start writing to it. I strip off all the music, obviously, but I start writing my own music to it. Now, I don't write the rest of the track and hit all the little, points and stuff like that in that trailer, but I definitely use that trailer as a source of inspiration for the tempo, stylistically what I'm going for, and whatnot. So this is really important. Another thing that I have in my studios, I have a TV with an Amazon Fire Stick, and it's on all the time. It's on mute, but I can look over at it and I can see just some visuals that are happening, and that can inspire something, right? So if you want to write music to TV or to moving picture, then you should start writing music to moving picture, all right? Another thing you can do is you can get onto YouTube and you can just search YouTube for TV show without music or scene without music. And what this is going to provide you with is it's going to provide you with a couple scenes from some movies and films that don't have music, but they have dialogue, okay? And watching scenes without music already on them, but with the dialogue in them, it gives you a great perspective of what lands on a music supervisor's desk and how they have to start the process of finding music that fits that scene. And remember, our goal as music content creators working in the sync licensing world is to serve our end users. Those include our music supervisors, music editors, music libraries. Their employers are producers, directors, production companies. All right, so we have to keep in mind that we are serving people who are serving people further down the chain. And we want to make their job of searching, auditioning, and licensing our music as easy as possible. When we understand what their job is like, what they get on their desk, which is basically a scene with dialogue and no music, it gives you a better understanding of how to serve them. On top of that, when you've taken the time to write music to picture and actually be influenced by the picture that you're watching, the TV that you're watching, the YouTube video that you've downloaded, whatever it is, and you've created music that matches that action, that emotion, that just helps, that process of creating that music, that's going to help support the role of our end users. Again, those music supervisors, those music editors, right? We're supplying them with music that we already know is going to work. Why? Well, because we've already created it with picture in mind. All right. So I hope this was inspiring for you, and we'll chat with you later.